What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Tuesday night show, brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar that is just north of Frandor on East Saginaw near the Lansing-East Lansing border. No better place to watch the Minnesota-Michigan State game in case it goes poorly, because there are other good games on all around. There's beer, there's great meals. You can console yourself in a million different ways and have a great time at Front 43 in Cask & Company. Also a great place for lunch, for a date night, for just about any occasion. Two different vibes, distinct vibes. One more pub-like, one more restaurant-like, both with games on, and one amazing menu and drink selection. Jason, how you doing, brother? Riding right up into my rectum, and it was painful.
What's up, buddy? Are we going to talk about other things other than Michigan today, or Harbaugh and sign stealing, or that's the only thing?
Well, we're going to talk about the Lions, about Michigan State football, maybe some Michigan State hoops.
Can we
but
just
also
skip
that.
a week? Can we just get to the games this weekend so I can erase any memory of last weekend?
First of all, how good is a name is Connor Stallions? If you're going to be noteworthy.
I'm sure people have brought up the fact that it's a porn name, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Scott Stallions.
Obviously.
Right. I would hope so.
Yeah.
Another podcast has done that already.
It's going to be interesting to see where this goes.
Stallion.
It really is, because I just don't know. I mean, I think there's been some good reporting by both Yahoo and ESPN on this, and I know I've seen some flack about the blue wall and why there hasn't been any original reporting there. Let me tell you this.
Welcome to the blue wall.
We're going to have, first of all, one of the representatives from the blue wall, Sean Windsor, on here shortly.
Is he going to get mad at people?
No, but
Charbonneau did?
Yeah, he gets less mad. He understands it, I think. He gets more philosophical about it.
Sure.
And we'll talk about that a little with him. But a couple things. One, these are hard stories to play catch up on quickly, and sometimes some of the national folks have. You're talking about 11 different schools, more sourcing at other places. I don't think this is being ignored. It's just they're not the original reporters. That stuff happens from time to time. But it'll be interesting to see where this goes, because it's clear that a lot of the Big Ten is pissed off about this. That's why the sourcing is so easy right now, and that's why the stories are coming so quickly. And it's also, I can't tell whether, at the very least, it's embarrassing. It mars this season for Michigan. And it may not be that they did anything that's technically against the rules. It may be that what they did is only a slight variation of something that's allowed anyway. And why is this such a big deal? But you know what the rules are. You know what fair play is. They clearly have this guy, Connor Stallions, who they thought was a whiz kid at this stuff.
But
and he may have
the
crossed
rules,
the line.
Though? If you buy 11 different sets of tickets or whatever with a credit card, that's going to be traced back to you.
There you go. So the question is, who financed this stuff, right? And that's what you need to know. If this is all this one guy, and he's a staffer at Michigan, this is still going to come back to Michigan. But the question is, who financed, who knew, and because it is
not Harbaugh.
It is a competitive advantage, and people are pissed off about it. And rightly so. In the sense that this is.
But is it against the rules, though? Like you said, everybody I hear is they preface everything with, well, listen, everybody's been doing that since 1923. In my 47 years of watching football, everybody does that.
If they paid to put other people in other stadiums to pre-scout or did it with technology as well, those are things that are against the rules. Right. And it's not that all this stuff's a huge deal. It goes back to the burger, as everybody says it, just a burger in the COVID era, when recruiting scandal from Harbaugh that it's already cost them 3 games. If you know the rules, though, and everybody's trying to play by them, and you're bending them, and I'm not saying lots of people in college football haven't been bending rules for years and years and years at all sorts of places. It's not like Michigan's some devil in this. What Michigan is, And what Harbaugh is just a little more smug in his defiance of it. And so people, it's the, what happens is you talk about integrity and leaders and best, and this is who you are, and you behave a certain way as if you're above anything else, above reproach, and then you're not. You're just like everybody else. And I think that lends itself to people being even more antagonized by this behavior. Now, we'll see whether the Big Ten has any teeth. If this is an actual serious violation, it'll take the NCAA a long time to do this, to actually come up with any sort of punishment. It would be at minimum like next summer, I think.
You think so?
Yeah. Because this stuff takes forever.
It seems like the NCAA, I don't know it does, but the NCAA seems like they have it out for Harbaugh and are sick of dealing with his shit and just absolute lying to their face, which I can't blame Harbaugh. Lie until you see video of it, but I guess there's video of it. Is he gonna? Is this Stallions guy gonna take the fall? And then Harbaugh had no idea.
If it's a serious violation, then, or at least something that the NCAA serves notice, I think there's like 3 months Michigan gets to respond. It's just by nature not a fast process. The Big Ten could do something more quickly. I don't think they will. I just don't. Because it doesn't help the Big Ten. It doesn't help their television partners. It doesn't help the problem the Big Ten has is a lot of people are upset as well. You got other institutions who aren't happy about it, and who do you serve, and what's right and what's wrong? I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
But pretty much you've already stamped Michigan's season as being corrupt, and there's an asterisk by it, right? I mean,
there's definitely
that's bigger than what's going to happen in 3 months from now, because even if they win the national championship, everybody's going to call them cheaters.
Well, now though, if you win out now and you've had to stop this, like you had empty seats at the where you bought tickets for the Penn State Ohio State game, if you run roughshod over Penn State and Ohio State and you win the national championship. After all this is done, without doing this, I think some of it will go away. But you have to win now. It can't, if the accusation or the assumption is that you've been doing this for as long as you've been beating Ohio State, and then you go lose to Ohio State once you can't do it anymore, then that will become an issue. I do not think it would have changed the score against Michigan State one bit.
No?
I just don't. I don't. It's
maybe they would have gotten like 7 or something. Michigan State, that is.
By whom? Who was going to score those 7?
I don't know.
Where was that going to come from?
Well, they knew the plays, so I mean, it didn't matter.
Before we get to Shawn, talked today to both Katenhauser and Sam Levitt, and I credit Michigan State for making guys available who are young players who might be leaving. Who knows at the end of this year? And this has been obviously an awkward, difficult circumstance, and those guys are able to talk and share their feelings about everything. And I just couldn't help but think, though, and Sam Levitt said a lot of nice things about MSU. He said East Lansing he said the campus was dope, like any good 18-year-old does who is a Division I quarterback at Michigan State. I imagine it is dope. And he said he likes the culture of his teammates and friends. He said a lot of right things. I could not help but just think that kid is not going to be there next year. And I think that's the hardest thing for Michigan State fans right now, beyond everything else that's happening, is the idea that you can't even look at like young players and say, well, at least there's this. At least this guy, yeah, maybe a 2-5 team, but look at these young defensive backs. Look, this quarterback might be really good. Got a couple receivers that are interesting, because you don't know if any of them are going to be back, and I would venture a guess that a lot of them are going to be gone. And the number of them, and this is where I would say that wins matter. One thing that was stated by one of the players today was just talking about how important wins were for how they feel, sort of the culture of sort of keeping things positive. And, because it is up to these kids, whether in a certain way, these same kids that sort of recruited each other in a couple of these recruiting classes, to sort of re-recruit themselves, that they want to stay together, they want to fix this together, they want to be part of this program. And a little bit of winning can help change the vibe. You think about this. You beat Minnesota and Nebraska, say, the next 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, you're 4-5. It's not a good season. All the shit that's happened. But now you're going into the Ohio State game at least 4-5. Okay, that's probably not going to go well. But you had a couple wins. You're able to just, puff your chest out just a little bit. And then, if you beat Indiana, at least you're playing for something in the Penn State game. Probably won't go well. Probably not going to be bowl eligible. Not sure people want to be in a bowl game even if it's there. But I'm just saying you would be playing something potentially throughout the end of the year. What a win could do for this group right now, it's not nothing. And I think this will be an interesting character. I'm just telling you what I think.
That was a good spin because I actually was starting to feel better about this. I'm like, you know what? Going to that Penn State game, Sam Levitt, if we hire a coach and he gets in there and says it's your job, because that's the only way it's going to happen, right? Is that your scenario coupled with they hire someone who gets to Sam Levitt and goes, you're our guy next year if you stay here.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's
I mean, wouldn't it be weird if Sam Levitt came back? I think it would be more weird. I don't know. That's why you have to get a guy in there as soon as possible to try to stop the bleeding with some of this transfer stuff.
Well, that's the thing. You're going to have to get a coach in there who can work magic right away. Yeah. And,
There's not many Deons out there.
No. And somebody who just – and then, even if you decide on a quarterback or make a decision or think you picked the right one, that doesn't mean that person's not going to leave anyway. There's two West Coast kids who may or may not – I think Sam Levitt's going to have offers. Sam Levitt's going to have interest a lot of places. And you're going to be re-recruiting to keep him, a non-local kid, on your campus. I think it's a shit situation because they may, maybe you struck gold with a kid, but now he's not going to stay anyway. Who knows?
But the campus is dope.
I'm telling you, East Lansing, Michigan State for 18-year-olds is fun, especially for 18-year-old quarterbacks. That is something they got to work that. Yeah. All right, let's take a really quick break. We come back. We're going to talk to Sean Windsor about Michigan, about the Lions, about Michigan State football, and some Michigan State hoops as well. Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. Two great spots adjoining one great menu, outstanding drink selection, good vibe, great date night, a great place where you can watch a game over your shoulder and pretend to pay attention to your spouse. Very pleased now to be joined by a good friend, noted member of the Blue Wall, Detroit Free Press columnist Sean Windsor. Sean, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, Graham. Good to be with you. It's been a minute.
It has. I appreciate you taking the time. There's a lot of stuff.
Of course. Anything for my is to what's the right phrase, to show I'm not on the blue wall.
That's right. This is part of the penance of the Free Press. It's actually in the contract. So a few things to get into. I want to get into some MSU football, MSU hoops, and Lions and everything. I want to start with your thoughts on what's going on at Michigan right now and how serious you think it is, and what you think the potential consequences could be.
You mean if the allegations are true?
Yeah.
Okay. If the allegations are true, I mean, to me, it's a bigger deal than paying. Well, before NIL, well, you still can't pay them directly, I guess, paying players. But to me, it's a bigger deal than recruiting violations, especially the minor ones that Michigan's accused of during the COVID time. You know, the extra having a coach on Zoom watching practice, that kind of thing. going out for meals. I mean, I don't think they're close, to be honest with you. Even some of the bigger recruiting violations that have happened over the years. To me, that this is about. I mean, if it's true, if they were scouting in person on opposing stadiums and relaying that information back, I mean, that doesn't get. The only thing I can think of, if we're just talking about the integrity of the game, the competition, and the spirit, the only thing that would be worse is maybe throwing a game because you get gambling money on it, right?
Yeah, that would be worse.
I mean, to me, it's a big deal. And I get it. I heard Deion Sanders say earlier today, actually, hey, in football, yeah, I thought this was funny. I actually wanted other football coaches to see this. But he said, in football, I guess it's not that big a deal. He said, you can give me the whole script, and so what? We still have to stop it. I give you the script. You still got to stop it. It's okay that you know what's coming, right? Because you physically have to stop it. He said when he played baseball, it was much harder. If he knew a curveball was coming, he felt like he was in business. Like if he knew what was coming in baseball, it was a bigger advantage than if he knew what was coming with football. I don't know that a lot of people would agree with that, but he played both sports at a pretty high level.
Yeah, and the question would be: is there any real teeth? Like, what do you do? Do you vacate things? I mean, it'll be interesting to see who makes the judgment. Is the Big Ten step in before the NCAA? Do they have the teeth to do that? I tend to think they wouldn't. I tend to think the Big Ten is not going to do anything, and it's just going to continue to be this sort of a little bit of black mark asterisk on this season for a little bit, but people are going to play through it, and if they win out and they've done it after this, then people may ignore it because those wins would have come after the sign scouting. Like if they beat Penn State and Ohio State and Georgia anyway, then people may think, oh, big deal. It'll be interesting to see though if that's the way the rest of the Big Ten feels, and I think it speaks to I think part of the problem is too that Harbaugh and the program come across as sort of this above reproach, and then they continually do things that just annoy people, and I think I think who Harbaugh is adds to this, if that makes sense.
There's no question. I mean, in his relationship, he's not Tom Izzo, right?
Yeah.
Or even John Beilein, who was kind of a coach's coach. I mean, I look, he's respected, right, in terms of how he can motivate guys and the way he sees the game and all that. And I understand all that, but he's just for sure that plays a part of it. They see hypocrisy, maybe even the sanctimonious, right? I mean, how many times has he referenced cheaters?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, again, this is allegations, right? And if it's true, but if it is true, it's disappointing. Maybe a lot of people would disagree with me that it's not that big a deal. Like I said, Deion Sanders didn't seem to think it was that big a deal, but it's in the spirit. I mean, it's part of the rules, right? But it's just the spirit of it. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, look how the Houston Astros are viewed right now.
Yep. No question. Well, speaking of what people would consider disappointing, when is the last time you saw like that Michigan State-Michigan game? One side had no chance. It never showed a single spark, and I think Michigan is really, really good. I think Michigan's is. Washington was amazing. I think Michigan is right there, different style of team. But I think Michigan State, what's alarming, even though I think there are some decent young players on the team, is they just don't have any difference makers, any dudes that are a problem for a team like Michigan. Did that stand out to you?
Yeah, it's still a little. I mean, you're right. It was really similar against Washington. They could have named their score too, didn't they? Pull their. I mean. Was Penix pulled in the third quarter like McCarthy was? I think he was.
He was pulled early. I can't remember the exact time, but yes.
Yeah, I can't either. It was similar. Yeah, it does sound out. You and I talked about this after the game, or maybe during the game. I can't remember on Saturday night at Spartan Stadium. But I know how bad it looks. I feel like this can turn quick. I mean, the perspective is. It's hard to get out of the moment when you're watching something like that, right? And, they got beat pretty good last year. Again, I don't know how much of this is because of what happened to Tucker. Obviously, they would not have competed with Michigan with Mel Tucker. But just the way they carry themselves, the connectedness. It's an unfair ask for Harlan Barnes. I just feel you mentioned the young players. You know, we'll see what this looks like a year from now. Obviously, they have to figure out who their quarterback is. And we talk a lot about difference makers. And let me ask you this, because I know you're going to talk about the Lions, and maybe you don't want to go there yet. But how many difference makers do the Lions have? You know,
it's a fair point. I would say on the offensive line they have some.
Yeah, they've got an offensive line, and you know we saw what happened in Baltimore. So they're not a great example in the moment. Baltimore had the best difference maker on the field, but
Laporte might be one, or Laporte or whatever. Yeah,
he could. They've got a lot of young, promising players, and they're a good team. And so when you have the right chemistry and connectedness and coach and everybody, you know, you can have. Do the Lions have great talent? Probably not. They might eventually because they've got a lot of promising young guys. They've got solid talent. And I'm not saying State's at the same place, but yes, you need difference makers to go win a national championship. But to show some competitive spirit and score 20 points against Michigan or 16 points and lose by 2.5 touchdowns, do you need a ton of difference makers?
Yeah, I mean, no, you don't, and you can, you know, as we saw with Kenneth Walker, you can get him quick. And when they had Kenneth Walker, Jaden Reed, and Jalen Naylor, though, they had 3 guys right away and that were difference makers. But you're right, and I do think it can turn. You know, we saw in year 2 under Brett Bielema, Illinois was really good. They've fallen off, but they had some guys, right? Michigan State in year 2. I don't think it has to be this dreadful next 5 years.
No, Wisconsin. I mean, Iowa's not. I mean, they haven't been able to score for a while, but both those programs have been competitive in this league.
Yeah,
you know, and respectable on and off for a long time. Without, I mean, you know, obviously they have a few NFL players here and there. Clearly, Iowa with tight ends, and occasionally defensive linemen, and maybe a linebacker here or there. And Wisconsin with offensive linemen and running backs and receivers. But yeah, no, for sure you have to have a handful of Sunday players, but I just don't. I don't think you need 22 of them. I mean, maybe to beat Georgia.
Yeah, no, and I think there are a couple things with Michigan State. One, there are some young guys that I still think are going to be really good college football players on that team, whether they're on Michigan State's team or not next year. I think there are some guys. I think the defensive line has been disappointing this year. It was really sold as a group, and it was a group that I thought would be pretty good. So that's the one area that I thought would be a strength that hasn't been there. And then they just struggled to find an identity. Some of that stems from not really having a quarterback and not having receivers who are veteran. Their veteran receivers just don't have the high ceiling. They're younger guys who may be better aren't quite better than those veterans yet, so they're not seeing the field as much. There's a lot of things. Let's turn to the Lions because Michigan State football is what it is. This last week, like, the Lions have been a phenomenal story to this point, and it's not just because they've won, but it's how they've won. They've looked good. They've looked like a team that could go into a place and win. This last week, I think, and it wasn't just the blue pants, which they should never wear again, but it reminded you of an era past, and I think it scared some people about Jared Goff and that one game, and that's going to be the playoff game on the road, and he's just not a guy who can elevate you. What was your – I mean, you wrote a good column on this, but give me your sort of 10,000-foot takeaway on this.
I thought Dane Campbell said it best, and he was smart. It's one of the things that makes him, I think, a good coach with the potential to be a great, great coach. But after the game Sunday, I was not in Baltimore. I was in Tampa the week before. But after the game, he was talking about how with so many plays, somebody wasn't doing the job they were supposed to be doing. And he said it was across the board. And he took responsibility for that and said, and he even questioned his practice schedule the week before. And he did some of that yesterday, on Monday, actually, too, in Allen Park in his weekly news conference. But which I love about him. I love when football coaches will say, maybe I didn't think this through. I should do this differently. I think that says a lot. I think it's one of the reasons the players love to play for him so much. But he said, we're not that type of group. And he paused because he didn't want to say, hey, we don't have enough talent just yet. That's not how that's not going to help anybody. But he said, we're not that type of group. And he's right. The margin for error, what he was saying to me is the margin for error is still really slim, right? They have some talent, and they have a lot of buy-in. and they play with a toughness and a tenacity. They reflect him and, frankly, Brad Holmes, who's got some of that himself, right? If you spend any time around him. So, but that margin is just slim, and they weren't quite ready and weren't quite there with the details against Baltimore. They're not. Maybe they weren't going to win that game anyway, but I think they would have been at least a little bit more competitive. And then you saw, you're right about Goff. I mean, he's not the way Lamar Jackson played. I mean, Goff can't do that. I would argue, though, push back just a touch, that the week before in Tampa, he was under an awful lot of duress and made plays. The difference was Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown were finding space, finding openings. Now, it's easier to see that from the press box. I was in Florida and now in Baltimore, like I said. But I just feel like that was part of it too. And even St. Brown dropped a couple balls. That's when you know it's off, right? Like something's off. He's one of the surest-handed receivers in the league. So I just I understand people might want to say that about Goff. He has played in the Super Bowl, but we watched him a week before under duress make plays. But the receivers have to get open too. It's just none of it worked.
Yeah.
None of it worked, right? And it's not. It's probably they're going to lose again this season. I don't know if they'll lose like that, but they're going to lose a few more times, I would imagine.
Sure, we're seeing the 49ers and Eagles. I mean, everybody loses. There's so much parity. And, the thing I think that makes people nervous about Goff is they got to make a decision on him, and they got to pay him. And then what do you pay him? And then if you pay him, how much does that limit the rest of your roster? And does Goff understand that? Because Jared Goff, if you're making $40 million a year, then you have to be Lamar Jackson. There's no excuse. You've taken away your protection. You've taken away two of your playmakers. You've taken away your ability to respond defensively because you want this market value of a quarterback that you might not be. I think that's where the concern is a little bit with him is like, are you willing to do this for $20 million and sign a 5-year deal every year, or do you want Daniel Jones money, which cripples the franchise, and you're not that quarterback? Does that make sense?
It does, but he's a lot better than Daniel Jones. His numbers over the last 16, 17 games before Baltimore were among the best in the league, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 13-4 or whatever. And, I mean, the touchdown to – I'm sure you all have heard it, your audience has heard the touchdown to interception ratio, the completion percentage, the total yards, just the decision-making and some of the throws he's made this year. Even under duress, the way he was squeezing the ball into tight spaces, he's been doing that all season. What was strange, not strange, what was interesting to me is the ball wasn't even coming out of his hand right, was it? It was fluttering in that first half, especially against the Ravens. And I hadn't seen that, and I don't know if it was the wind or what. Who knows? It was just a bad day for him. If he has a couple of more, then yeah, but if he keeps playing like he has been playing for the last basically full season of games, I think you got to pay him to a degree. I mean, what else are you going to do there? How many Mahomes and Lamar Jacksons are there?
You're right, and you do have to pay him. You just have to. I just don't think you're next in line. Like I wish that the NFL they would pay quarterbacks based on ability, not who's next to get the contract. That's a little bit of what my concern is. Yeah, I'm hoping it works out for him. I really am. I mean, having the Lions be good like this has been a hell of a lot of fun for my co-host Jason. It's kept him alive for like another year. I mean, that's that's been nice, and all that. So, all right, let's talk about a team that I think everybody around these parts is pretty excited about and ready for, and especially ready for, given what's happened with the football team, and that's Michigan State's basketball team.
I thought you were going to talk about the Pistons, who open up tomorrow night, or the NBA that starts tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Pistons once we see them. We'll go there. But
I'm kidding. I just thought you were going to talk about the Warriors Suns tonight, or the Lakers and the Nuggets. But
I am excited about the NBA as well. I think the people listening tonight are more excited about Jeremy Fears and that backcourt and everything. When you talk to Izzo, and you're one of those people, you're like an Izzo whisperer, right? You talk to Izzo and you get a sense of what he really feels about something. What do you think he really thinks about this team when you talk to him?
Oh, I think that he thinks his I don't want to say it's quite like he felt. I'm trying to remember the year. It was the year they lost to Connecticut in the Elite Eight. Was that 13-14?
Yeah.
Yeah. Along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know if this team has as much pro talent as that one did. Maybe eventually, but terms of the depth, in terms of juniors and seniors who are going to be your best guys with some talented youngsters, he really likes the possibility of this team, the potential of this team. You know, I mean, he liked last year's team a lot too, especially as the season went on. The big thing with last year's team, at least from what I got from Izzo, was he going to be able to reach A.J. Hogard?
Yeah,
and he did.
I think
he ended up being their most important player.
I think Hogard is a fascinating player this year. I think I'm going to write my preview column on him because I think he, you know, the freshmen are it's a good class. I think like Fears especially is going to impact them. I think the backcourt as a whole is you know, you sort of know what Tyson Walker is. I'm not sure there's another gear for Tyson Walker. He's a phenomenal player. Jaden Akins, I think there's another gear for. We'll see some of that. But I think consistency from Hogard and what you see when he faces, like Hogard's a guy who I think had an awakening this spring with what NBA teams told him. He's a guy who, against top-tier college talent, can take it on, and we saw that against Kansas State when he had that, you know, that stretch where he just started to take over.
Yeah.
We saw it a number of times. Like I think he is just. I'm not saying he's not going to drive Izzo crazy. He's not going to have a game or two here or there that aren't up to par. But I think there's a potential that he just has a year, and that he's driven in a different way right now.
I completely agree. And you and I have talked about this, even going back to the previous season. He first showed that, I mean, maybe not first because he did a little against Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, but against Duke in the NCAA tournament a year ago. That, to me, that's where we really first saw that flash. But I'm with you. There's something about the way he plays, the physicality of it. It's not that he's menacing necessarily, but he's got confidence and swagger and all that. And it's interesting because he's not somebody that's crossing. Well, he can actually cross you up and get in the lane, but it's not hitting step backs and right.
It's the spins. It's the quick moves in a phone booth heading downhill that are just.
And he's in
control.
And I was talking about this with somebody up at State during a media day a few weeks ago. He is unbelievable with the ball.
Yeah,
I don't know that we talk about that enough. He is great with the ball. I mean, his handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way he can get through traffic, and he's so strong. But there's just something about when he gets going like that. We saw it against Kansas State. There's something. Look, I get it. Walker can get on a roll and make shots that makes the arena go crazy. But there's something about Hogard. It takes the team. He brings the team with him.
No,
you know what I mean? In his wake, it's hard to articulate, isn't it?
It is, and he's gotten better at. Yeah, I mean, even the games they lost last year, you'd see moments against Northwestern where you try and bring him back. Now, he was part of the reason they were in the spot they were in. I don't know. I got a feling about A.J. Hogard, and that's a dangerous thing to bet on. You know, like but you know, I got a sense about him. I think the rest of the team is good, intriguing, deep, and I just think in college basketball these days, you don't get many teams that are that high end talent, that depth, that sort of. Like you watch their practices right now, and they are just so damn competitive because they've got so many guys that are fighting for minutes, and they can go 5-on-5, even with Jackson Kohler out. And I don't know, I think it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to talking a lot of hoops with you over the next coming weeks and months, and maybe a little less MSU football. You know, so
that'd be fine with me.
All right. Well, Shawn, I appreciate you taking time, man. I can't wait to see you again.
All right. Thanks, Graham. As always, a pleasure.
That's the great Sean Windsor from the Detroit Free Press. And, I don't know. Anything that stuck out there?
Yeah, apparently the Lions are keeping me alive for one more year.
That's right.
I appreciate that. Although they're going to kill me if they keep playing that way. Listen, I understand the Philadelphia-San Fran loss, but you can tell in the game last night, San Fran was competing. The game against the Ravens, it was an up and down ass kicking. That's what scares me. That's all.
Yeah,
just a little concern.
No,
about Goff too. You know,
I think the concern is real, and I think the best thing that can happen is you get a not a very good Raiders team, not a team that's completely devoid of talent. They're not the worst team in the NFL, but not a very good one. Coming in on a Monday night game, beat the tar out of them.
Yes,
and if you do that and you sort of restore this, like. Yeah, against a good team on the road, shit can happen. We get that. But, like, this sort of thing these days are over. This is not a problem.
At home, you snap out of it, you blow them out. Sure.
I think
spread everything.
Everybody feels a whole lot better. All right, we are going to go to Harry Gagnan here in a moment. But while we get Harry on the phone, a reminder about Front 43 in Cask and Company. Outstanding place for happy hour specials. So if you're looking for a place after work, you're headed from Lansing to East Lansing to Lansing, it's on your way. Just swing on by. Great specials there. Good place to just park yourself at a bar, enjoy the vibe, and catch a game or have a great meal. Their menu there is exquisite. Love it. I take family members there all the time. I take my wife there all the time. If somebody's meeting me for lunch, we often go there. Full endorsement, and not just because they're a sponsor. If they were a sponsor and the food wasn't any good, I wouldn't go. But it's been an incredible place for a lot of years for me. That's Front 43 in Cask and Company. Please now to be joined by the great Harry Gagnan as we pick the games presented by our friends at Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Harry, of course, from The Ringer and Against All Odds with Cousin Sal. Harry, how you doing, brother?
What's up, guys? How's everything going?
Well, not as well as a week ago.
Complete ass, man,
yeah,
if you want to be honest.
Yeah, what was up with the Lions, boys?
I don't know.
It wasn't great. Yeah.
And gambling and the whole thing, the whole weekend, past weekend was just brutal, Harry. You know how those weekends go.
Yeah.
That's true. I know.
Nothing's ever good.
Harry's never had one of those weekends. That's
true. Sorry.
How about guys? How about I needed I think I text Jay. I think I texted you. I needed Tennessee +9 to hit a $60 3-teamer with Minnesota money line over Iowa. Bailed out on that one. I needed over 61 in the Oregon-Washington State game. Washington State gets a touchdown with 20 seconds, goes for 2, makes it. I get the over at 62. And I've got Tennessee +9, and they're up 13 at half, up 22 for the spread, and don't cover.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. And by the way, not only that, but Tennessee had more first downs. Tennessee had more yards. Tennessee had less turnovers, and they still don't cover.
Harry did text me, by the way, but before he texted me about that, he texted me at 2:27 a.m. Graham hit his soccer parlay.
I know. I was so excited.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, great.
It saved my weekend.
I did.
Oh, man.
After that weekend at 2:27 in the morning, I'm like, fucking fantastic. I'm so happy for him.
Someone's in your corner, Graham. Someone's in your corner.
I appreciate you, Harry.
I'm happy you won, but at 3 in the morning. Jesus.
Well, all right.
For Graham, you gotta love it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, do you leave your phone on? Does that wake you up?
No.
Okay, good.
God,
I was going to say
waking up to it was.
Yeah. All right. Let's win it all back this weekend. Let's go through some games, starting with the college games. The big one nationally is, of course, Michigan State +7 at Minnesota. A week ago, I said, look for Michigan State. Like, this was an opportunity to take Minnesota. Like, whatever happens, they're putting everything in the last week. Take Minnesota. I don't feel as good about that anymore. I don't, because I don't think this Michigan State team is his. I mean, we'll find out, but I don't necessarily believe they've quit. And I also saw enough of Minnesota last week to think, man, I don't know if Minnesota's a touchdown better than Michigan State either. I'm going to take Minnesota here, but I do not feel as good about it as I previously did, because I am a little concerned about where MSU's heads are. But they have shown no evidence of quitting yet, even though that didn't look great against Michigan. Give me Minnesota here, but it's not the recommendation it would have been. Jason?
Yeah, good lordy, what a fade. But if we're going for our picks here, I'm with you. I think Michigan State still has a little something left, and give me that touchdown against Minnesota. What you got, Harry?
Boy, I don't know what I was thinking taking Sparty last week, guys. I'm on the Gophers.
A little spite bet there.
I mean, wow.
You know, on the live line that I wanted to text out or tweet out that I didn't, because I was a little nervous about garbage time scores. But at one point in that game, pretty early, it was clear Michigan State was going to have trouble scoring, possibly once, most likely not at all. And the team total live line was like 7.5 for Michigan State. And I was like, there's no way they get above 7. They might get a touchdown. I just kept getting scared that when they took out their starters in the third quarter, like there'd be a couple, late things, and it would wind up being a 49-14 game. So I didn't want to share that with people, but I regret that now because that offense was going absolutely nowhere. All right, next game, Western Michigan at Eastern Michigan. And Western Michigan is a 3-point favorite at Eastern Michigan. This is not a good Eastern Michigan team. Chris Creighton's had some good ones lately. I don't know. I think Western's going to win this game. Eastern Michigan is not an intimidating place. I know it's a rivalry where weird things happen. They just lost at Northern Illinois. They did beat Kent State a couple weeks ago, but I don't. Eastern's had better teams. I think Western covers this game, and it's not just because I lived in Kalamazoo and covered Western. Give me Western and the points at Eastern. Jason, where are you?
I don't know why this spread is 3, but Western is definitely better than Eastern Michigan. So give me Western, given the 3. What do you got, Harry?
When I saw this, when you guys sent me this, I had to do some research on here. I think this is just a weird line because, Western Michigan's -3. I'm going to take them, but they're 2-6 overall. Eastern Michigan's 4-4.
Yeah.
Western Michigan's 1-3 in conference. Eastern Michigan's 2-2, and in conference play, Eastern Michigan's given up just 70 points. Western Michigan 127, but they're the favorite on the road. That makes no sense. I'm going to take Western Michigan.
Yeah,
the other way.
Yeah, what's weird is I have barely seen Western play, but weirdly I've seen Eastern play this year, and I've not been that impressed. They do have a better record. I don't know. I just from what I've seen, and it is a weird line. It is a weird line. That's what do I have the line wrong? Maybe I have the line wrong. Maybe it's like that could be the.
You had it right.
Okay, good. And I've covered a number of games there. There's no atmosphere. Like it's not like a road game. It's like a college version of playing on the road at San Diego, right? You just don't. It's your fans and nobody. Let's go Indiana +32 at Penn State. I love these lines. I want to see if I can bait Jason into another giant line at Penn State, like the Temple one here. I find this line to be a little much. Like Indiana is not good, but they are not UMass. UMass is who that was. And Penn State's offense is not great. And they're coming off it's a deflating loss to Ohio State. 32 points is a lot to put up. I think if Indiana scores once, which I don't know that they'll do, they cover this. Give me Indiana and all those points. Jason, where are you?
But the over-under is what, 44.5?
Yeah.
I can't stand James Franklin, but if he doesn't cover this, we're going to have real problems. So give me Penn State, given the 32. What do you got here?
Yeah, I'm going to take Penn State too, guys. I think they take the frustrations out on the Hoosiers. I think they roll out of big after losing last week.
All right, Oregon -6.5 at Utah. Not a lot of respect for Utah here at home with Kyle Whittingham and the way they play. Now, Oregon's not going to get bullied the way USC does, and so that's the difference, right? There's a much more complete football team. And the 6.5, they're under a touchdown and all that stuff. Screw that. Give me a home dog getting disrespected in this setting. I don't know that they win the game, but I'll take Utah being given 6.5. Jason?
Yeah, I just feel like that's a lot of points, especially with a guy like Dan Lanning who goes for 4th downs and never gets it. So he doesn't like points apparently. I'm with you. Give me Utah, and that's 7. I like it. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more with you guys. 2-time defending champs getting totally disrespected. Utah's won 18 straight in a row at home. They lost by 3 in Eugene last year and held Oregon to just 20 points. And in 2021, they beat them in the regular season by 31. Utah beat Oregon. And then in the Pac-12 championship game, they beat them by 28. And then you're going to give Utah, 13th ranked in the country, 6.5 at home? I'm all over the Utah. I might make Graham. I may come up on Against All Odds, not on Thursday's show. That might be my college play of the year. I'm debating it.
Wow.
I'm debating it.
That's enough for me to be on it. Ohio State -14.5 at Wisconsin. I love this line because it sits there.
Sucks.
Yeah, right. You sit there at 14.5. You're like, that's a lot for an Ohio State offense. It's not inspiring, and Wisconsin is not that good. They're just not. They're not very good at all. It's just hard for me though. As much Ohio State football as I've seen with that offense on the road, to take them giving more than 2 touchdowns. And yet I'm going to take Ohio State because I really think Wisconsin's just that average, and I think Ohio State's defense is good enough that they'll turn Wisconsin over there. They'll give them a short field. They'll do something to create some points. I would not take this line in real life, but for our purposes, I'm on the Buckeyes. Jason?
Yeah, I was trying to let you talk me out of what I was going to do because that 14.5 and Wisconsin at home looks nice, but I just don't envision them even competing in this game. So give me Ohio State minus the 14.5. What do you got, Harry?
You know, it's just interesting. I mean, I know Wisconsin is bad, but isn't this like their Super Bowl? I mean, Ohio State coming into Camp Randall, I think that they come here, and they don't care about any other game. And I do have concerns about Ohio State's offense overall. I'm going to take more than the 2 touchdowns here. And I think Ohio State wins this one. Wisconsin rises up here, and it's close.
Yeah, well, and Wisconsin beating Ohio State, too, would shake up the West. It would shake up a lot of things, or being close, because right now first of all, Wisconsin were to beat Ohio State, it would really put Wisconsin back in the driver's seat in terms of winning the West. And it would also mean there was a team in the West that could actually play with the East Division champion. That would be the type of game that the Big Ten could actually.
So now you have Wisconsin winning?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm on Ohio State, so I'm just saying it would be immense. Okay, to the NFL. We'll start with the Lions Monday night game. Raiders +8 at Lions. The 8 is a number that makes you a little nervous, more than a touchdown, but. I think this is a bounce-back game for the Lions. I do think they'll play well. I think this is a game where they win by a couple touchdowns here, and the 8 doesn't scare me a ton. And I think this is a game we'll learn about the Lions. The Raiders. I've watched a lot of the Raiders this year. They've had some games where they don't look horrible. I don't know. They're just on.
Oh.
Why else do we watch things when they're on? The NFL, we watch it. But give me the Lions, Jason.
If we're scared of the Raiders and scared of that 8, then our dream of winning the Super Bowl is fucking over. So give me the Lions giving 8. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, Josh McDaniels. He sucks as a head coach. He looks miserable over there. He let the Bears and a Division II player beat your ass into the ground last week. Lions were due for a stinker. I think it's okay. It was a third road game in 4 weeks, guys. I think they're back at it with another 30-plus point performance against the Raiders. They roll Las Vegas.
Yeah. See? Positivity.
Absolutely.
That's what the show needs.
By the way, Harry could not take Michigan this week because they have a bye. By the way,
is Iowa, and they're a 14.5-point dog.
To nobody? Yeah, right.
That inch.
That's like it's like when Dane Fife was the coach. Dane Fife was the coach at Indiana for Fort Wayne, and he said once they would lose recruits to nobody. In other words, like kids would just decide not to play college basketball.
Jesus.
It was embarrassing.
By the way, how about McCarthy's now the front runner for the Heisman?
Yeah, how about that?
Harry,
Talking about Michigan.
will that be vacated along with Michigan's wins, Harry, is my question.
Oh. Whoa. Right.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Hey.
Could be.
How dare you?
All right. Rams +6.5 at Cowboys. Look, it's actually closer to a home game for the Rams than it is when they're actually home against the Cowboys, because at least you're on the road and you're not quite as deflated by the fact the crowd doesn't give a shit about you in your home building. So I don't think that hurts. Cowboys are better than the Rams. The Rams are this team that sort of wears down, and they still got some dudes. They're better than I thought they'd be this year by a ways. But I think the Cowboys inside of a touchdown, I'll take that in Dallas. Jason, where are you?
Yeah, I would feel if you're a Dallas fan, you're kind of disturbed by this line. I think 6.5 is a great number. I love Dallas. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, I don't like this game at all, but I think I'm going to take the points here. Nakua and Kupp can cause problems since Diggs got injured. Dallas has given up like the third most yards in the league since that. I have a little bit of faith in Stafford here. I think 6.5 is a chunk in this game. Taking the Rams.
All right, Bengals +5.5. Last game here at the 49ers. I like the spot for the Bengals. Don't love that it's on the road, but the 49ers, play on Monday. Bengals coming off a bye. Just like 49ers are beat up a little bit, going through some spot. I don't know that the 49ers are going to drop 3 in a row here, but with these points, Bengals finding it a little bit, I'm okay taking the Bengals here +5.5 at the 49ers, Jason.
Is there any word on Debo? Is he coming back? Do we know yet?
I have not heard.
Because that is key for me. If Debo's back, I like the 49ers. Without him, give me the Bengals plus the points. What do you got here?
Okay.
I really like the under in this game, guys. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle, but I'm with a game like this. You're going to get Burrow 5.5 points versus the San Fran team that, Graham, you mentioned banged up a bit and dropped 2 in a row here. Not scoring a ton of points in those 2 games either. I'll take the points here with the Bengals. UNLV, who they've beaten 5 times in a row. UNLV, the Rebels are good. Rebels are a covering machine, but they have beaten the Rebels 5 times in a row. Air Force at plus 170 to stay undefeated and to go undefeated. I like that a lot.
I like that. Air Force to go undefeated. We can all become Air Force football fans. People around here need a college football team. Why not Air Force? Jason, you have anything you really like, parlay or anything?
I don't have a parlay just yet, boys, but there's 2 games I wanted to ask you guys about because Graham didn't put them on here. Colorado at UCLA, minus 17 and a hook. I really like UCLA in that spot. I know it's a lot of points. And Florida State, speaking of points, at Wake, plus 20.5 for Wake at home. I just want to know what you guys think. I really like UCLA in that spot, and I'm trying to talk myself into Florida State on the road because Wake Forest is ass.
I would have a lot more confidence in UCLA. They played really good in their last game, played tough the game before that against Oregon State on the road. And I just don't know where Colorado's heads are. And maybe, you look at the rest of their schedule, Colorado, their whole schedule, they could lose every game. And every game is tough the rest of the way for them in this Pac-12. And what they've done lately, I wouldn't be surprised if they tank and lose big here. And
if Chip Kelly, he's just like frothing at the mouth watching that Colorado defense, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Try to run it up.
Harry, I've got soccer for you. Coming off the win.
Let's do it.
You got some things going on this week that you don't usually get. Newcastle, minus 135 at the Wolves because they're on the road. I like the way Newcastle's playing. I know they got the midweek game in the Champions League. And then same with Man City. And I know their expected goals haven't been great lately. Minus 143 at Manchester United, who's not at their level, who's too vulnerable. And I know it's you got to lay some juice here, but you don't get Man City almost ever at 143. And so I like those 2 games. I also like a parlay. Brighton at home against Fulham at minus 200, and Liverpool at home against Nottingham Forest at minus 369, and it gives you about to even money. If you need something else, throw Aston Villa at home against Luton Town, 3-leg parlay. Should pay better than even money in your.
Yeah, I need something else. Harry, don't text me if this thing hits. Just begging you.
I love it. You going Liverpool again, huh?
Yeah, I like Liverpool right now. I feel good about the way they're playing. Nottingham Forest is a little bit dangerous. Like Nottingham Forest will probably score.
Sometimes they score. They can score.
Yeah, if you can get both teams to score line, that's pretty good there with Nottingham Forest. I might take that with Liverpool as well this weekend. So, Harry, you are a beautiful man. We appreciate you joining us every week. It makes our week, really. We talk about it every week. So
awesome stuff, guys. I love it. I love it too. Take care, guys. It's awesome.
The great Harry Gagnan from Against All Odds with Cousin Sal and The Ringer. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
It was fun.
It was.
We appreciate Sean Windsor from the Detroit Free Press / Blue Wall joining us. And we thanks to Harry as well. And thanks to Front 43 and Cask & Company. Looking for a place to watch the games this weekend. The Lions on Monday night. Monday night's Front 43 is a great spot. Used to go there every Monday with my soccer team when it's in season. Fun vibe. Great setup for football as well. We'll be back later this week with a Groovy Donut Twitter question show. Couch in the Rube.